Today I'm going to show you a knife from a newer brand that comes really close to being great, but that's not even the best part. This thing, it's currently on sale, so hey, stick around and I'll help you figure out if this Remette knife is worth buying. Hey, how are you? If this is your first time here, I'm Jay. Thanks for stopping. Up on the screen though, I got some specs for you, and they're all measurements I went ahead and took myself. Don't worry though, I'll have them listed for you down in the description, along with like the coupon codes and those links to buy. Here's a few quick comparisons, just so you can get a better idea of the true size of knife we're working with today. So here it is next to the Civivi Elementum, of course, and then next to Spyderco Delica 4. This is an inexpensive, like medium-sized liner lock with multiple opening options and I think, a good-looking 9CR18 MOV drop point blade. 9CR is very similar to Artisan Cutlery's AR RPM 9 steel, which is going to be found on, well, knives like this CJRB Pyrite and the Crag. Both steels have decent edge retention and corrosion resistance. 9CR, though, it's going to be easier to sharpen because it's not a very hard steel. So, if you're not a proficient sharpener yet, this knife would be the way to go. Usually when I do a knife review, I try to find a knife in my collection with like a similar blade shape, and I came up with this Vosti Raccoon because, both knives are practically the same length, but the blade on the Raccoon, yeah, it's going to be definitely wider than the Remette. The Sun-Cut Scepter here is another one, and it's also a liner lock with the same opening options and even the same blade steel. Man, did they do a great job on this factory edge. I mean, it's nice and even on both sides, and it ends right at that sharpening tool, as it should. Now, in regards to like fidget factor, yeah, this is one of my favorite configurations. I don't know, I just like knives that have both a flipper and thumb studs. I mean, I can just sit here and like open and close this thing a million times, like without even thinking about it. Yeah, that's pure muscle memory, baby. I think that's important for like an inexpensive budget beater like this because, it just adds value. It's another reason for me to want to carry it. Nothing is more annoying, than a budget knife with bad action that's just not any fun to fidget. You just end up using it because, well, it's cheap and you don't want to, damage, your more expensive knives. Yeah, and if you couldn't already tell, this blade is riding on a ceramic ball bearing pivot. So that action, yeah, it's really good in both directions. I also like that the action, it's consistent, whether you're using either the flipper or the thumb studs. And that just means that you got a detent that's dialed in nicely. And that's not always easy to do, when you have a knife with more than one opening option like this. Now, I gotta admit, when I first saw this knife, I was a little concerned about the finger grooves, on the handle because, well, I mean, we don't all have the same size hands and fingers, do we? What's comfortable for my medium-sized hand, might not be for yours. But these grooves, they're large enough so it does not at all like squeeze my fingers together when I grip the handle. Now, there is a few things that I would have done differently on this knife, like, well, that flipper tab. I mean, look at the size of that thing. Now, maybe this isn't really a fair comparison, but, you can really see the difference when it's next to the Scepter. But, I mean, most knives have a larger flipper tab than the Scepter because, well, that thing's tiny. Now, you saw how far it sticks out while it's closed. It also affects the cutting angle, and the amount of edge that you can use. You see here when you're cutting on a flat surface like a countertop. Honestly, I think that this knife would have been better off without a flipper tab altogether. So, if you have the ability to mod your knives, you could delete it. And you know what? I'm going to use this black marker and show you what that would look like. So I went ahead and colored in that flipper tab, and that would be the part I would remove. I guess now I probably could have just held the knife like this to give you a good idea. I realize that this next thing is minor, but I sure wouldn't mind some wider thumb studs because you can see it here next to the Scepter again, and which is a much smaller knife, and the thumb studs are exactly the same size. But hey, at least these are at least tall enough. And the last change that I would make is the pocket clip because, yeah, it only has the one position, so no lefty love. Hey, but they did at least, go ahead and recess it into the scale, and Yeah, they even went ahead and used some flat screws. So that's a nice little attention to detail. If for some reason, you're not really feeling the green G10 and the satin finished blade, there's also a blacked out version available. So it's got a black stonewash blade and then black G10. You know what? To be honest, I would put this right at like, I don't know, Sencut or Kubi, even, Ganzo Firebird level of quality, which, heck, that's a good thing. Depending on, when you're watching this video, as of right now, there's like a $10 off coupon on Amazon, which is going to knock the price down to $32, which I don't know about you. I think that's a fantastic deal. So just make sure, go ahead, use my link that's going to be down in the description. Right about now, there's a video up on your screen that I personally picked out for you to go ahead and watch next. And hey, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. If you're looking for knife reviews, they get right to the point. All right, thanks so much for watching. I got to run. Love you guys, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care.